This is Mitch, and welcome to the 1000houses.com podcast. We are sponsored by Tax-Free Future. You won't believe what your financial advisors are not telling you, and we're going to tell you what they're not telling you. We're going to tell you why they're not telling you, and then you can do with what you want. But there is a reason why IRAs and 401ks and, self-directed accounts with checkbook control to grow your financial future are so important, and we'd like to tell you all about it in 37 little video vignettes at taxfreefuture.com. Check it out. All right, I'm here with Kirby Atwell. I have my sunglasses on today. I have these two big black eyes. No, I did not get in an altercation with anyone. I had a little procedure done, and man, it looks like hell. So I'm wearing sunglasses today just to spare y'all the atrocity.
It looks slick.
Kirby got to witness it, and he's glad I have on sunglasses too. He's like, holy hell, how are we going to do an interview like that? And I said, I got it right here. And I just pull over and put the glasses on. So, all right, Kirby, how you doing? We actually did a fantastic interview the other day. It said record on the button. I'm looking at it right now. Do you see it? It says recording. It did not record. We lost it to the cloud or to the the gremlins somewhere got our recording. It was a great recording, which it was one of those recordings, you think, man, that was really good. That was a great one.
Yeah.
So now you have to
practice run.
You have to do better. The pressure's on, Kirby.
Yeah, it was good practice. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So where are you standing right now? What city, what state?
I am in Northwest Indiana, about an hour outside of Chicago on the southern tip of Lake Michigan.
Okay. Good place to be. They got a lot of affordable properties there, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Affordable. It's not unusual to be able to buy properties for $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 there, right?
Exactly. Yep.
And that's not, particularly in a war zone. I mean, it's not going to be on the golf course, but it's a decent neighborhoods that can show pockets of pride, right?
Exactly. Yep. And low taxes, which is not the case about an hour from here in Chicago.
There you go. But we're going to be talking about landlording and how he made the move from going from flipping houses to moving into landlording and why. So tell us a little bit about your career at first. I like to hear, usually someone's background so we can get where you're from. I mean, were you born rich? Were you born poor? Did you go to college? Tell us so we can get our arms around like what kind of guy you were and then how you did all this stuff. So give us your background.
Yeah, unfortunately, I wasn't born rich. I was born in just, typical middle-class family in the suburbs of Chicago and always wanted to serve in the military. And so I ended up getting an appointment to West Point. And so I went to West Point and graduated in 2005. And I was stationed down in El Paso, Texas, down in your neck of the woods. And I was at Fort Bliss right after West Point. And I'd always wanted to be an entrepreneur as well. I knew I wanted to serve, but I was going to get out and be an entrepreneur. Didn't know what path I wanted to take. And like many people, it's kind of cliche now, but I picked up Rich Dad, Poor Dad in 2005, 2006, somewhere in there. And after I read that, I was like, this is what I'm going to do the rest of my life. I was 23 at the time, and I knew it. And so about a week later, I saw the property across the street go up for sale from where I was living and went across and made an offer on it. Not really knowing what I was doing at all. Luckily, I was in El Paso, Texas, where, things are very affordable. And because this was 2006, so, the height of the market at that time before the crash. And so I picked up a couple houses there and kind of learned on those. They were $100,000 houses that didn't really, they just were stable properties.
You just kind of learned what not to do.
Yeah, exactly. And
that's what ready, fire, aim guys, that's how we do it. I'm a ready, fire, aim guy, okay, that didn't work. So what I should have done was, and then now I know what to do with the next one. Hopefully we survived the first one, and it sounds like, and we do, we break even, we rent it out or string it along, have a little bit of negative cash flow, nothing going to kill us, but
Exactly. And so from there, I went to Hawaii. Luckily, I went to Hawaii second because then it was after the crash, and I was able to pick up a property in Hawaii, a foreclosure that was just an incredible deal. And then eventually I got out in 2011, and I knew I wanted to do this full time. And so I partnered with a buddy of mine, and we started flipping houses. And we did about 70 flips around Chicago from 2011 to 2016. And, I knew the concepts in Rich Dad, Poor Dad were, buying and holding assets. And that's what I always was drawn toward. But once I got out of the Army, I didn't have the financing, and I thought, well, I just need to flip then. And so I got on this flipping, and I call it the flipping treadmill, where, you're constantly just looking for that next deal, and you never really get ahead. You make a little bit of profit, but then you pay a whole bunch of taxes. And, it was like this constant, treadmill. I just couldn't make any wealth. At the end of the month, everyone else was getting paid, and my account never changed. So in 2016, I decided to leave the flipping behind, and I started focusing on rental properties. And I kind of came up with this model. It was very basic. I just pulled out a spreadsheet and I said, if I want to be a millionaire, what do I need to do? And so I plotted it out, and I was like, if I can do one property a month for 2 years, I'll accumulate 24 properties. And if I can build in $500 of cash flow into them, buy properties that will cash flow 500, and build in through the rehab, buy a crappy property, rehab it, and build in equity of about 40,000 per property. That at the end of that, I'll have about $1 million in equity, and I'll have $12,000 a month in income for the rest of my life. And so I just got super focused on where I could do that. And I found out about this HUD VASH program where, you can rent properties to homeless veterans through this voucher program. And since I'm a veteran, I had sort of a rapport with these vets. And so I started rehabbing houses and in the south suburbs of Chicago. And then when a veteran would get a voucher and needed a place to live, they could rent it using this voucher. And it was a great program, got them back up on their feet. And it was good cash flow because, a lot of people will not rent to homeless vets. They hear homeless vets and they think, PTSD and drug addiction, all that. And so they automatically just say no. And so I was able to mitigate some of those risks from more of a hands-on management piece, and it worked out really well. So I started accumulating properties, got about 13 of those. And then I found an apartment building, 11-unit apartment building. And I did that. It was vacant and needed to be fully gutted. So we gutted that and did the exact same model on that. And so looked up about 2 years later and thinking that I hadn't hit my goal. And I realized I actually had 24 units, and I was basically right at my goal. And it was pretty satisfying. So, and so I've just been doing that ever since.
Well, first of all, thank you for your service, because I love you guys. The servicemen out there. And second of all, thank you for helping the vets, because we don't give them near enough help that they deserve, in my opinion. So good for you on that. And last but not least, congratulations on becoming a millionaire. Nice. $1 million doesn't seem like what it used to seem like, does it to you now, though?
And it's not the flashy, like you see these guys on Instagram standing in front of like fancy cars and stuff. Like, my lifestyle has not changed because I have $1 million of equity in properties like that. It doesn't impact me. I still work just as hard. Like, it's different than I think what social media makes it look like.
Well, back in the 50s and the 60s, if you were a millionaire, I mean, that was a lot of money. You know what I mean? Like, $1 million doesn't go as far as it used to go. It's just
right.
I mean, people are living in houses that cost $500,000. Everyone in the whole neighborhood's damn near living in $1 million house. But the point is, you squared up with some goals and you got there. Now, everybody knows I work the other side of the coin. I do the owner finance. I don't choose to be a landlord, because I say that that rental income is unpredictable because of the amount of liabilities that you're responsible for. You're actually responsible for everything from the back fence in the backyard all the way to the mailbox in the front yard and everything in between. And anytime it goes wrong, it's your problem. But I'm not saying that you can't learn to mitigate that or you can't make money doing it. I mean, obviously a lot of people have. I can see my problem is I can understand how people who had free and clear houses in their IRAs or whatever, it would work out all right because they didn't have any debt service, you know.
Right.
Well, trying to make the difference between what you owe to the bank and then what you're collecting in the rent, trying to make the spread, you know, it takes one air conditioner, wipes you out for the year, you know.
Exactly. Yeah.
So let's have that discussion. Just it's kind of like the elephant in the room whenever I'm talking to a guy who's a landlord. And believe me, I'm not bashing landlord because, like I said, if you get a handle on it and know what you're doing and buy right, you can still survive everything. So how predictable is your income? Have you been able to make it predictable?
Yeah, it's a great point. And that's the challenge. So that, you know, like I said, in the model, I was thinking if I accumulate 24 of these that each have $500 of free and clear cash flow, then you've got 12,000 of income forever, right?
On paper, you will have 12,000 coming in, but
Exactly.
it can't possibly work that way because that's
Exactly.
nothing breaks on 24 houses. Nobody moves out in 24 houses, and nobody tears up the house on the way out in 24 houses. You know what I mean? So
yeah. So what I have in my model is I've got all my debt service, all my expenses, insurance, taxes, and then I also add in 20%. So 10% for maintenance items and then 10% for management. So that's included before I calculate my free and clear cash flow. But as you said, it's so unpredictable that 10% might work. You might not even spend 10% on some, and then some might be way over that if you've got a big issue. So it's not like.
Does it kind of level out?
I think it does. But it's still, you know, hard to go to sleep at night. It's not like getting a paycheck on the 1st and 15th, you know, so it's hard to rely on that and think, well, I know I've got 12,000 a month coming in no matter what. Like it's up and down. So that, I think you're absolutely right. That's the problem. And the hard thing about feeling financially free is that, you know, that there's issues all the time, you know, when you start to accumulate these properties. So, you know, that's my ultimate goal now, because your goals always evolve, is to eventually have these paid off. And so, you know, so some of them I'm selling off with a lot of equity in them. I'm still continuing to buy and renovate and build in more equity into properties. And so eventually the debt service just gets more and more reduced. And then, you know, the risk factor is a lot lower.
Okay. I want people to say about me one day what you just said about Kiyosaki. It's kind of passe now, or cliche now, but I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. I want you to say it's cliche now, but I read Mitch's book, and now I own or finance half of my properties, you know, after I get past the year of capital gains and everything. And so, because let's just run a scenario, and I'll try to convert you, okay?
No, I love the concept. Yeah.
First of all, if you have a black cloud house or one that just keeps killing you, that one goes up for owner financing next time it's vacant. Okay, just stop that. Because the problem with rent, in my humble opinion, the problem that I saw was when I collected rent, I never knew if it was mine or it was the air conditioner man's or the plumbers or the roofers, because if something happened, I'd have to take it out of my wallet and hand it to them. And I was doing a hell of a job collecting money for these guys. I mean, man, they loved me. They were running all over town with me, you know, and I was just handing them checks. And so I never knew if the money was mine or someone else's. And so even if I had $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 in the bank, I was afraid to really spend it because I didn't know if
Right.
something was going to happen. When I get a mortgage payment, it's just my money. Short of a foreclosure, I don't have to give it back for anything. If it's not my air conditioner, it's not my hot water heater, it's not my, you know. So, but here's the idea. If I was you, this is just if I was you, I would think about taking, you know, you put them in a spreadsheet from the very best one at number 1 to the worst one at number 24. and I would take the bottom 12 after, and I'm going to assume that you've owned them for over a year, right?
Right.
So that you can get long-term capital gains with only 22% tax, right, on it.
Mm-hmm.
And go ahead and sell those seller finance. What's your average house worth?
It's about 100, 120, somewhere in there.
So let's just say $10,000. That's if you don't get lucky. That's if someone doesn't walk up and go, I want to give 20% down. I don't care that you only want 10. Because let's just say you demand 10% down. You're not going to sell it for less than 10%. So on 12 houses, that's 120 grand. And you still got your cash flow. You'll still have your $500 a month. And start paying off houses that way. Mm-hmm. It's faster, and you don't lose all your cash flow. Now, that cash flow is going to be temporary now because it's on a 30-year note. Let's say I sell all my houses at 30 years, 10%. No balloons. Don't want them to pay me off. Mm-hmm. But they will pay you off probably between now and 10 years. But that just means you get another lump sum of cash, that you go, now you have to go buy something else or pay something off. But I think it's a lot faster than than trying to do it with just your cash flow and your savings, and maybe flipping some houses on the side, working there. You still flip, right? Do you still flip at all?
I do, yeah, every now and then.
Yeah, because you need that. First of all, you're a deal junkie, and we know it, and you can't tell just by looking at you that you're a deal junkie.
That's right.
And I feel so stupid with these sunglasses on. I don't know why, but I do. But that's good because that'll help you get everywhere faster because it's an extra 20 grand here and 15 grand there and 30 grand there. And who knows, an extra 80 grand sometimes somewhere really helps the process move along. And even a blind dog can find a bone a couple of times a year. So I would think about that. And do you know how we arrive at the owner finance value?
No.
It's the OFV. That was invented by this guy right here, the OFV.
Not the ARV.
And you have the male, right?
Right.
The OFV is the owner finance value. You take the rents and subtract the monthly taxes and the insurance. Let's say it's $1,000. Taxes are 100, insurance is 50. I'm just using some numbers I know. Don't split hairs here, just get the theory. So if you take $1,000 minus 150 for taxes and insurance, that leaves $850. That's what this renter across the street can afford to pay for principal and interest because nobody gets that 150 but the tax man and the insurance man. So out of $1,000, so if they're the rent's $1,000 across the street and you want to sell the house, you have a house in that same neighborhood, comparable house, take the rents, 1,000 minus 150 equals 850. Then you take 850 and you multiply it by 115, not point, there's no decimal anywhere, just 115. That'll give you a number. That number in this case is going to look like $97,750. Okay, which to me looks like 98,000. I don't deal in BS numbers. I always round up. I need a nice, pretty number, and I always round in my favor. So that's $98,000. What this does is you're multiplying by 115. 115 is, I went to an engineer, someone who was much smarter than me, and said, I'm tired of having to run for this book or go plug in these variables on an amortization calculator. 850, 10% interest, 30 years, and then solve for the balance. Just give me a multiplier I can do on a dollar calculator. He said, okay, use 115. So anything under $250,000, 115 will get you real close. So if you multiply 850 times 115, and again, 115 represents 10%, 30 years. Mm-hmm. Then you come out with $98,000. That's how much this man can afford to finance. He can afford to finance $98,000 at 10% for 30 years and have about an $850 PI payment, principal and interest. So by the time he adds the taxes and the insurance, he's back right where he was at rent. Because I'm trying to offer this renter for $1,000 a month, a house for $1,000 a month. Okay, so if he can borrow $98,000, then what is the sales price? Well, I want at least 10% down. So I would add at least 10% onto 98,000. But I don't ever want to shoot for my minimum, so I add 12% on. And if you add 12% on top of 98,000, 12% of 98,000 on top, you come up with a number that looks really close to 110,000. That's the owner finance value. And I don't give a shit what the MIA appraiser says or the freaking BPO or the CMA. I don't care, because that was for people that could get a new loan, right? My guy
yeah.
loan. I'm just trying to say, why in the hell are you paying $1,000 for nothing when you could pay $1,000 to own something for the rest of your life and be able to enjoy the appreciation and the interest write-off and the solidness of having your own place and the roots and all that jazz. And if you want to improve it because you're a master carpenter, you can go add a room, whatever. It's all yours now. And that's how you sell it. And I've sold houses 100% over the appraisal because the that I could.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you back into your $120,000 houses like that, figure out what the rents are. Now, if the rents are lower than the comps, then you go with the comps.
Got it. Yeah.
A little over rent. But people will pay 100, they'll pay 75, 100, 125 more than rent, because to them it makes sense. I should, to them in their mind, it should cost more to own your own home than to rent a house. And so that's my idea. I don't know.
No, I love the concept. And that's how I actually found you. Is I heard that concept. You talked about that on a podcast I think it was about a year and a half ago that I listened to, and I was like, this is really smart. I mean, it makes so much sense. And also then you're not worried about the other thing, the cash flow goes up and down, but also the values go up and down. So, you talk about having $1 million net worth. Well, if next year there's a huge crash, you're not going to have that much equity in their property. All of a sudden property values take a 40% dip. That's a significant chunk of your income, or a significant chunk of your net worth. But with your model, that it's fixed. So I love it. I agree.
I think it's a perfect mixture of the blend. It's just that I am such a crappy landlord. I'm so jaded by now. They've lied to me and told me, they shaved their head and said they had cancer, and I gave them 6 months free to find out. I mean, I don't believe anything anymore. Everyone's a liar. If your lips are moving, you're lying to me. If you're on the other side of the table, in the rental business or the house business.
Yeah.
I don't trust and verify. I'm like a little bit like Reagan, but not always. I don't even trust you, and I'm going to verify. So. So it's a perfect blend, because you could do the rental thing for a year or two. And of course, if you have a perfect renter at the end of the year and they're not complaining and they're sending in their payment and they're taking care of the property, don't go kick that sleeping dog, just leave it lay. I mean, it might go on for 5 years and you might get 5 extra years of appreciation, but you got that one where, you've had a black cloud house, haven't you?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I know the house that you're talking about right now.
Yeah. So the black cloud house is like, screw this. I'm selling this to someone else and they can take it. And I just want the payment. I don't want to hear any more about anything else about this house. And if it's really bad, like if it had foundation settling and you just can't get it to stop settling, like you do the repair and then it settles again in another 8 months. I mean, that's just the one you sell it down the road.
Yeah.
But I've had houses that, you buy them and go, man, this is going to be a great one. This is going to be a great house. And it causes me more trouble. And there's no reason why, because I got houses all around it that are fine. But this one house, I don't know what it is. I mean, like someone mojoed it or took a voodoo doll of my house and sticking my house with pins. And then I buy one house, I don't even really want the house, so bid really low. And then I win. And it's like, damn, I'm not even sure I want that house. And I just got it. And then that's the one that sells overnight and makes all the, is fine. So sometimes there's no rhyme or reason. But I think you might have the perfect blend. And so check it out one time and run the numbers. And then I'm going to tell you a secret. Can I tell you a secret?
Absolutely. I'd love it.
This is one of my top secrets. Not one of my top secrets, but I use it a lot. Then you run your advertisements and it says minimum 10,000 down. So if it's a $120,000 house, you want 12,000 down. If it's, whatever, you do the math,
sure.
12,000 down. Someone says, okay, I got my 12,000. They come in, they give you the app and everything, and you don't say anything until they're approved. Once you say, okay, I'm going to take this guy, then you go back to them and you say, and this is how you work your down payments up without being a back trader or an idiot. or what do you call him? A jerk. You got him all approved. He's got the 12,000. Call him back and say, hey, we just got a couple more things to check, but I'm pretty sure you're in. I'm going to honor my agreement. 12,000 down is fine. But I wanted to plant a seed with you, sir. And I want you to pray to your wife and talk to your God. And for every 1,000 you give me over 12,000, I'm going to take 1,000 off the price. So I'm going to double your money over 12,000 and watch them come up with an extra 4 or 5 all the time. And this is what's cool about seller financing houses is there is no appraiser in the equation between you buying my house. There's no appraiser.
Right. Yeah.
So I've always paid my house at least $3,000 over what even the rental formula says. 3 to 4, depending on how I feel about the neighborhood and everything, because I'm doing the wall, I'm marking it up, so I mark it down. I'm giving myself some free bargaining chips. So a guy could come up to with up to $4,000 extra, and I'm not giving away anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm collecting, instead of 12,000, I'm collecting 16,000 now. And when you do that over 12 houses, if you pick up an extra $3,000 or $4,000 on 12 houses, that's another 36. That's the difference between $120,000 and $150,000.
Yeah.
120. So, do you like my plan better, or you like your plan better?
No, I love it. I love it. It's
no, but I'm asking you seriously. You can't see my eyes because I have these stupid sunglasses on.
I get I have never done it. So I want to, my plan is to start to implement some of that, like you said.
One, don't put up 12 of them and don't know what you're doing.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Crappiest one, the one that you never bought, and the owner financed that one. And here's the cool thing about seller financing houses that you can't do, I don't think, in the landlording business. I can buy a house, not take the dog shit off the carpet, not fix the hole in the roof, and not fix any of the broken windows, and I can seller finance it for double what I got in it and walk away. And I end of deal for me. Wrapped up. So you got to put money into yours all the time, and then that money can be ruined. Basically, you put in new carpet be ruined. Yeah, well, I put in new carpet before the guy moved in. He moved out. I don't have new carpet anymore. It's not even decent anymore. So that money I put in was just out the window. Whereas I buy a house, I don't fix it. I buy a house for 40. I don't fix it. I seller finance it for 80. I double my money, and it was for sale the day I bought it. I bought it at 8. By 3 o'clock, it's up for sale with signs in the yard. As is. You fix it. So this guy comes along, and he puts $20,000 in it, and he makes it worth $120,000. Okay, well, I got an $80,000 note, and now the house is worth $120,000, and that guy did it all.
Yeah, you're pretty secure at that point.
Right. Or so here's the other side. Or I could buy it for 40. I could put the 20 in it, and then have to sell it for 120 to double my money. Either way, you double your money. But one is all the risk is in the rehab and in the repairs. That's where all the risk is, and that's where all the time is also. So when you buy a house and seller finance it as is, you've eliminated all the time that it takes and all the risks. It's very difficult to get all your materials ripped off your job when you didn't do a rehab. So just think about those things, man. And I would love to hear how it goes for you on the one. As a matter of fact, I'll even coach you on your first one if you want some help. You can just
awesome. I appreciate. That's why I came on this podcast, is to get free coaching, actually. So,
honest to God, you're a very, very intelligent person. You really have your collective crap together. You're a doer, and you really don't need anybody because you can figure anything out. But if I can help, I'll raise my hand.
Oh yeah, this is a totally new strategy for me, so I appreciate that.
The main thing is make sure you get your RMLOs and comply with Dodd-Frank, and don't make some of those mistakes. You live in how did you pick Illinois? Northwest Indiana.
Yeah, I was in Chicago. I up until about 2 years ago, all my properties were in the south suburbs of Chicago, and what it drew me to it was that the rents are super high there, but the taxes are also really high. So, so it worked well there. Things that appreciated quite a bit, but we wanted to live in Northwest Indiana. The quality of life, I feel is much better over here. The tax situation, it's more remote. You get a lot more for your money. So moved over here first and then realized that there's some great opportunities over here as well. A lot less city issues to deal with. It's just an easier place to work.
Yeah. So the reason why I ask is you picked a very affordable place,
Mm-hmm.
but you also, if you're going to do the seller financing strategy, have to pick a state that has decent foreclosure laws. And I think you're in a decent place. I think you have dual laws. You have judicial and non-judicial. Is that right? Or you just have judicial?
I'm not too sure.
So that'd be the first thing we have to figure out is how do you get someone out of a house if they have a mortgage, and how are you going to paper that up, and how are you going to handle it?
Yeah.
In Georgia happen to have the fastest foreclosure process on the planet, and probably Mississippi. Most of the states that are good for seller financing are the flyover states. But
yeah.
So
yeah, it's great. I mean, rental landlord laws are really good here. Everything's very quick, but I'm not sure about the judicial.
Well, if the landlording rules are very conservative, or actually makes sense, that's a different word for conservative. Then probably everything else is too. Like the foreclosure laws and everything too. I know one of my mentors, well, not my first mentor that turned me on to all this, does a lot in Indiana. I don't think he'd be in Indiana if it didn't work. So I'm all on it. So let's go back to the landlording side. So you have how many houses do you have now?
Well, I just sold, actually. I sold 8 of them this past year. So I'd accumulated 13 initially, and then the 11 unit. Then I bought a few more after that, and then I sold 8 this past year. So right now I've got, I think I've got 8 single family homes, and then I've got the 11 unit property.
Okay. The other thing that you don't have any problem finding houses where you're at, I'm sure. If you want a house, you can probably go out today and get one that works,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah. I mean, always looking for the cream of the crop, but yeah, they're available.
Yeah. So the crux of the whole thing is funding, right? Favorable funding.
Yeah. But I mean, things are so cheap here that I haven't, funding hasn't been a huge issue because I have enough private investors but cheap funding. Yeah. I mean, getting long-term cheap financing is definitely a challenge.
What kind of terms are you looking for?
Well, when I refinance into a long-term loan, I'd love as close to a conventional mortgage as possible. That 3.5% for 30 years is ideal. It's just,
I'm talking about with private people. What do you start out with?
Oh, it's a lot of people who, friends and family who have their IRA, and they're at 8-10%, just a fixed interest rate.
Oh, cool. Do they amortize, or is it interest only for a while, or what?
Just interest only. Yep. Yeah. Some want quarterly payments. Some just say, put it into a project. When the project closes, pay me out, my interest. Some want annual. It just depends on the person.
Have the banks started telling you, they don't want to loan anymore to you because they're overexposed on you?
Not yet. So far, I've been pretty good with the banks. But it's just the terms, that interest rate makes a big difference on the back end, on the long-term financing. So trying to get it as low as possible is the challenge.
Yeah. So you manage all your own properties? You have a property management company? You have a property management software? Tell me about that.
I did manage all of them because, most of them were the veteran homes that I was doing previously. That the demand for that has kind of waned a little bit. So I've started to pick up some just conventional long-term rentals and some short-term rentals, some Airbnb type rentals recently. but I managed all of them up until I had about 12 or 13 properties. And then I just recently transitioned those over to a property manager.
Yeah. You're watching that guy like a hawk?
Yeah. That's the challenge. Nobody ever manages them as well as I would like to. The attention to detail.
Right? So, but I 100% agree to have longevity in either one of our strategies, seller finance or that, you've got to get out of the line of fire directly between the occupant, whether it be a tenant or owner occupant. You got to get someone between you and them, because that's the part of the business that'll wear you out emotionally, because everyone has a sad story. And I have a big heart. I'm going to guess you probably have a pretty big heart too. And that'll really work against you in this business, because people will tell you, all their problems all the time. And it's not really fair, because we don't get to go cry to them when there's a hailstorm and we got hail on the roof and we didn't have that covered in our insurance. I sometimes just want to call up one of those complaining tenants and go, "You'll never believe what happened to me. I had a hailstorm and I wasn't covered by insurance, and I don't know what I'm going to do." But I haven't. I would just rather beat them up.
Yeah. Yeah, no, with the vouchers, it's been a little bit easier being the manager, because they're not paying the majority of the rent. It's coming from the VA or, whoever's providing the voucher. So
let me ask you about that. That's pretty cool. What's that voucher called? Is this the national name for it?
Yeah, it's called HUD VASH. So HUD partnered with the VA. And it's specifically a voucher for homeless veterans. So you can't be, you have to verify that you're homeless and that you're a veteran. And then you get a voucher that has a bedroom count for how many ever family members you have. And then you can rent whatever. So it's similar to a Section 8 voucher, but it's specifically for homeless veterans.
HUD, HUDVA, or it sounds like you're putting an S on the end of that.
HUD, HUD, and then it's /VASH. So it's VASH. It's Veteran Assistance for something housing. I forget what the S stands for.
VASH. I just wanted to get HUD/VASH. All right, because I did the Section 8 thing for a while. I just hated that mentality. Is the veterans mentality at this level better than the Section 8 regular Section 8 mentality? Because I hated that mentality. The mentality of the Section 8 people I did was very, you owe me, or I don't know. It was horrible. I couldn't stand it.
Yeah. I think, and that's the thing, like with the welfare system, it's tough to get people out of that mindset sometimes. I think it's a mix. I think a lot more with HUD VASH, I've noticed it's sort of a temporary measure, and that's what it's designed to be. So a lot of my tenants are people who hit hard times. It's a lot of single moms or they served in the military. They got, had several kids, they got married, had kids, then they got a divorce, or somebody lost a job, or they hit something that caused the homelessness. And then they're also assigned, when they get the voucher, they're assigned a caseworker at the VA who helps them through whatever the issue was. And some people, it is PTSD or it is a dependency. And so they're working through that while they have a house to live in. And so the intent is that they work their income up, because 30% of their income goes towards housing. So if they can get their income up high enough to where they no longer need the voucher can go to another veteran who needs it.
Well, so that's encouraging, because they're more likely to be using it for what it's meant for, which is a bridge, not a lifestyle.
Exactly. Yep.
What I didn't like about the Section 8 was there was people that had been on Section 8 for 20 years. It's like,
yeah, it's not really what it's designed for.
Okay, so I didn't even ask, do you teach any of this stuff?
I've had some coaching clients in the past where I walked them through, getting started with rental properties and stuff, but I don't have like a formalized program or anything. I do have a YouTube channel, Living Off Rentals YouTube channel, and I've got a ton of great videos there that kind of walk people through concepts of what I'm doing.
Living Off Rentals. I'm gonna put that on. I'll put it out in the show notes so you don't have to remember that or write it down, you guys. Just go to 1000houses.com and we'll say Kirby, Kirby. 1000houses.com/Kirby, and I'll put his contact information or whatever he wants to put over there. Do you have anything you can give away to my fans?
Yeah. Actually, so I just recently created. What I realized is that my income level was sort of directly tied to how organized I was. When I got more organized, I saw a direct spike in my income and the number of deals I was doing. And so when I was flipping properties, there was a lot of chaos. When I started renting properties, I needed to get more organized. And so I designed this system of organizing all my files because I realized I had files all over the place, and I spent more time looking for files or recreating files that I could never find again. And so I have this 10 folder Google Drive system that I created that I know exactly where every single item that I've ever saved is. I can put my finger on it in 5 seconds, and nothing is ever disorganized now because it's all captured in one of these 10 folders or a subfolder. So I've got a video that explains it. I've got a free giveaway that it's a map of how those folders are all laid out. And it's been a game changer for me. So and it's designed for real estate investors.
What do you call that video? I mean, what do I call this?
It's the Google Drive organizational system.
Okay, Google Drive.
Yeah, and it's specifically for real estate investors, but it works for any entrepreneurs, but you'd have to tweak it a little bit.
Okay, I'm writing this down.
Yeah, I've gotten pretty good feedback from it.
Hell, I need that. I'm disorganized. I just gave up on myself and I just hired people. I said, "Hey, organize this. I'll see you later."
Yeah, that's the other option too.
So, what do you say to the new guy that's coming in and is trying to dream his way out of a job? What's your advice to those guys?
I used to think that you had to make it super complicated and that everyone making money had this like sophisticated way of doing it. And it is not. When I got really specific on my strategy is when I really started making money. Before I was saying, just send me a deal. I'd talk to wholesalers and I was looking at all of Chicagoland for deals. And it was really slow and really hard. I had to recreate systems in every community that I went to. And then when I got specific and said, I'm going to buy 24 properties over the next 2 years in these 3 communities, this is my purchase price. I'm targeting brick houses, 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, no basement, and got super specific about the exact parameters. All of a sudden my deal flow shot up, and you eliminate so much area. You think that's counterintuitive that, before I was looking in 57 suburbs and now I'm looking in 3 communities and I'm getting way more deals because, wholesalers then they're like, oh, well, this popped up in this area. That's one for Kirby, and I could spend all my time really knowing that area and buy better deals. So simplify your plan, just, and get super focused and then dig into it and don't get distracted by all this other BS that's out there.
I like it. You don't have to buy 1 million houses a month to be successful in this business. I mean, I've pushed it to 8 or 10, over the years, but I grew into that over a long period of time. It's a very organic thing, you won't be at 12 houses a year your whole life. You know what I mean? I mean, at some point you'll either stop because you have enough, or you'll say, I got to do more. So,
Yeah, exactly.
What is your goal?
Yeah, it evolves over the years. Once I kind of hit my first goal, then I was like exactly what you said, like kind of what's next, and I ask on my show, I ask people all the time, like what does living off rentals look like? Because that's the name of the show, and for me, it's not necessarily 1,000 doors. To me, that sounds like a lot of work. It's really just having enough to live on, and then enough security. So I don't know what that number is, but right now, what I'm really focused on more than what I was doing in the past is the short-term rentals. It's sort of a new challenge for me. So I've accumulated a few Airbnb properties, and they're going really well in this area. It's super affordable, and the cash flow is really high. It's more management intensive, but it's a new strategy for me. So I'm really enjoying learning that. And I think if I can get 10 more of those that are fully paid off, it's another, another chunk of cash flow and another chunk of security that will be there. So
just be careful. A lot of people went into the Airbnbs in San Antonio, and then San Antonio started taxing Airbnbs the highest in the nation. So we have the hotel tax, and what they did was they applied the hotel tax to the Airbnbs.
Got it. Yeah.
Plus. So I would hate to see you get really loaded up and then something happen, but just pay attention to your city council or whatever the rumblings are there. But I love, that's been me too, multiple streams of income. Maybe I can be on your show, Living Off Rentals, because I do have 1,600 storage doors.
You were on it. You were on it about a few months ago. So I know you do tons of interviews. So definitely check out that.
We didn't talk about that, did we?
No, we didn't talk about that.
Yeah. I'm going on this push. I'm about to cross my 400 interview that where I have people on my show, but I don't know how many I've done for other people. So I learned my digital footprint. I have like thousands of pages out there. I don't know how that happened. I was not trying to do that because I wasn't smart enough to do that. I was just trying to apply myself on my podcast and my interviews to, pick up new students or to get more books out. I don't make any money off books, but when it really turned the corner is when you start having the higher reason. Because I didn't need to do it for money anymore. You know what I mean? Money, I don't get me wrong. If you want to give me an extra $1 million, I'll take it. But I don't need it. I'm not going to eat any better or drink anymore or live in a nicer house or drive a nicer car. I have what I want. So when it came about a higher power, my higher reason was I just want to hear people get free, from their job and get financially independent so that they can become the person that they really want or need to be. Sometimes we can't be that person if we have a job and we're a slave to the company store. The definition of financial freedom is when your wants and your needs are exceeded by your passive income. That was a big revelation for me. Financial freedom happens when your wants and your needs are exceeded by your passive income. That was a huge revelation to me because I thought financially free meant you were rich. I thought that's the words were rich. At the time, that was all I needed was $3,500 a month, and I was financially free, which means I didn't have to have a job, which meant that I freed up 2,600 hours that I could apply to me now instead of making money for someone else. 2,600 hours a year. Yeah. That's a lot of hours, and a guy could get really good at something with an extra 2,600 hours of effort.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Hello, riding a motorcycle, skateboard, whatever it is. You can become like one of the world's top with an extra 2,600 hours a year,
Absolutely. I wish I had learned that concept that you just shared right there earlier, because it would have saved me 5 years of flipping. Because when I was flipping, that my whole goal was to try to, accumulate riches. Like you're after this number that is like nebulous. But if you can just define, I need $3,500 a month, you can get there super quick if you lay out a plan to get to that place. So
once I decided that that's what I needed, it took me 6 months or 8 months. I don't remember. It's in my book.
Wow.
It was real attainable. Everyone else is like, we're going to make $1 million and $1 million. Like, to me, $1 million was like, it was a myth. I'd never see $1 million, maybe one day, but it just didn't seem real. When I got down to the goal, like, I need to make $3,500 a month come in, I'm looking at myself in the mirror like, this is the United States of America. $3,500 a month isn't anything. It's nothing. If I can't do this, take me out in the field and shoot me somewhere. I didn't know how I was going to do it. Don't get me wrong. And it did scare me at first, it doesn't seem like much at all, but I don't know how to do it.
Right.
I said, well, I guess I'm going to start studying. But all these big plans went away. I was just trying to find stuff to bring in, 200 here and 300 there and 400 there. And, I do it 10 and a half times and, I'm pretty good. So, but then you can get $3,500 a month to come in. You can get $35,000 a month to come in. It's just rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
And then you get a little smarter and you get better and you start to niche down a little bit, like you said, and then you just start exceeding your dreams. Like I've exceeded my dreams like 4 times already. Do you make big goals? Do you make great big goals?
Not, I wouldn't say huge. I'm always working toward a goal. But I don't have like grandiose, like I want to be a billionaire.
Right. Well, that was my point. Like, I never had big goals. I never had a goal to be worth. You had actually a bigger goal than I did. I never had a goal to be worth $1 million. I was like, $3,500. Can I get that to $5,500? And then can I get it to $6,500? Hey, I think I'll take a big leap and go from 65 to 10,000 this time. I was just always trying to better myself. Can I be better this month than I was last month? Can next year be better than this year? And just keep trying to better the bar a little bit all the time. And you look up and the snowball effect is incredible.
Yeah. It really is. And making those small improvements, I've seen that actually leads to much bigger wealth than when you shoot for these big deals right out at the gate. And, you think you've got to make $1 million all at once. That typically doesn't work out.
Well, because my theory on that is when you're shooting for the moon and you don't make it, you're crashing down on Earth again,
Yeah.
If you don't make it into the space where, you keep going, you're coming back down and it's going to be a hard landing,
Yeah.
So I just chose to a really grassroots movement, just a little better all the time. And it didn't matter what it was. Could be the systems, could be my computer system. Something's got to improve every week, something. Me personally have to improve. Maybe I don't like that as much. I like to improve other things. That's not true.
Mitch 9.0 right here.
2.9.
2.9. Sorry.
I don't know.
Yeah. Lettering up.
It's always a different challenge. Once you accomplish one thing, there's another thing to do. Mm-hmm. One of the biggest things you'll notice, if you don't have money now and then you start making money, one of the most obvious things in the world that you have to go in to learn next, it'll be like the next level, is making money is half the equation. Keeping it is the other half. And you'll say, hey, I finally made all this money. And then the IRS will swing by and like, oh, shoot. Well, there it goes, there goes right out the door. Then you go, how do you stop that from happening? And so you like I'm on a quest for 2020. I was till COVID hit. It's a little postponed, but the next 12 months, I'm trying to study how to retain more of what comes in the door, legally. So it's always another level. Yeah. Always. Man, do you ever make it down to San Antonio?
Not in a while, but I've been down there. I love it.
Well, if you do make it down here, will you take my phone number and call
me? Absolutely. I appreciate that.
Can I give you my phone number? Do you have it already?
I don't have it, so I would love that.
Let me give it to you right now.
Okay.
210-669-4020. And you seem like a really neat person. And if you ever get down this way, if you'll give yourself an extra day, we'll go out to my ranch and we'll have some fun.
Awesome. I'd love that. Thank you.
45 minutes from the Needle downtown. So it's very, and we'll go there and have fun because you seem like a really neat person. And how old are you now?
38 now.
38. Wow. So I wish I would have had my wherewithal together when I was 23. My head was so far up my butt when I was 23, I can't even tell you. I was always a hard worker. I was always doing the next entrepreneurial thing of the day, but it took me a long time to learn how to learn on my own. I didn't get it fast enough. I didn't start really learning on my own till I was in my 30s, and that was been a big mistake. Or maybe things just happen to people when they're ready for things to happen. But I wish I would have started a little earlier because I've done everything that I've done between the age of 34 and 59, and I had a lot of businesses and I tried a lot of businesses. One reason I liked real estate was I'm either going to get paid or something bad's going to happen to the person that's not paying me. But all the businesses, I couldn't really make anything bad happen to them.
Yeah, no leverage there.
I couldn't afford to even take them to court because what they owed me wasn't even worth. I was going to pay twice as much to go to court for what they owed me.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank you, Kirby, for coming on, and I want you guys to go to 1000houses.com/Kirby. Get your free Google Drive organizational system for real estate investors. Get organized, man. He's got it all figured out for you. It's free. Go over there and check it out. If you don't like it, throw it in the trash can. If you do like it, why don't you send him a message and tell him thank you, for taking that one piece off your plate. And there's a lot of free stuff that you can get that'll get you along and get you away. And then every now and then, when you find out exactly where you want to be, and there's this piece that you exactly need, you're gonna have to write a check for it. But I did that with my note servicing. I finally got so many notes. I spent $20,000 on a note servicing system that will practically drive you home. So
nice.
All right. I'd like to thank everybody for stopping by to get you some Kirby Atwell. Get over to 1000houses.com/Kirby. Get your free Google Drive organizational system for real estate investors. I'd also like to thank my sponsor, taxfreefuture.com. Come on, guys. There's a reason why rich get richer and pay less taxes than everybody else. But here's the thing. Stop complaining about it, because the same rules that they use, you can go out and use the same principles and the same accounts and the same, if you want to call them loopholes or whatever you want to call it. It's all available to everybody out there in the whole United States. The only difference is they read up on it, they study it, and they take action on it. And all the other people don't. And so you get to pay the maximum taxes in your life. So, it's your fault if you don't go take a look at why and how you can minimize your tax ramifications. Taxfreefuture.com. Watch the 37 little video vignettes there. This is Mitch Stephen, 1000houses.com podcast. We're out of here. See you, Kirby.
Thanks for having me, man.
Bye now.